Do you think they can take away our hunting, cancel seasons, limit access, or even an outright ban? Well, I think we can all agree that they've been trying to take away our firearms for years. But hunting...
If you don't believe hunting can be taken away in America, what rock have you lived under the last 6 months with what's going on in the news media? Look at the American rights in some of these cities that has been taken away. Look at what's happened right here in our country.
On today's video, you'll hear more from Ramsey Russell of GetDucks.com. Also joining me for the conversation will be Titus of Valley Mercenaries on YouTube, as well as Elliott Snider from Freelance Duck Hunting, also on YouTube. Now, all three of these guys have their own podcasts and are definitely influencers in the waterfowl hunting community. If you're a duck hunter, this is an important video for you to watch and share with everyone you know. I'm Joel Strickland, and this is Surviving Duck Season. Thanks for watching Surviving Duck Season. Now, most of my content is either duck hunting videos to feed your waterfowl obsession or hunting tips and tactics to help you maximize your hunting experience. I love showing y'all cool hunts and talking about duck hunting, but today's video is really important for all duck hunters to see because our future depends on it. A few weeks ago, I spent a couple days with Ramsey Russell. We were working on some content together that you'll see later right here on Surviving Duck Season. Through our conversation, the subject of hunting rights came up. I told him we've got to talk about this stuff on camera. So this next clip is part of that interview.
Having traveled worldwide, I feel like I've become weighted at times with a perspective that hunting is not guaranteed. I've been to countries such as the Netherlands where hunting has been banned and strictly limited, and the animal rights parties has taken over. I have been to Australia where those duck hunters are every bit as passionate and every bit as dedicated, and I would say even more dedicated to the preservation of hunting than we Americans, because they have to fight tooth and nail for every duck season they get. I'm seeing it in other countries. Uruguay has banned hunting. We used to hunt Uruguay. For decades, we hunted Uruguay. It's now banned. It's boiling down to almost a political relevance. You know, as hunting numbers dwindle, the amount of dollars that come off of sporting goods sales, that come off of expenditures related to hunting, that taxes, begins to dwindle also. And political relevance is money. And I don't make the rules. It is what it is. And if we can't remain a strong, viable political voice, if we can't assemble ourselves into a unified voice such as Safari Club International, if we aren't willing to go to the polling booths and vote for people that promote hunting, if we can't spend money, throwing $50 at a raffle girl at a banquet is not conservation. That's like putting $5 in the offering plate and calling yourself a Christian. It takes dedication, and it takes commitment, and it takes resolve. We're going to have to stand up and fight for this politically. Moreover, as the number of hunters in the country and around the world begin to dwindle, we're starting to have a lot of eyeballs looking at us that don't really understand who we are and what we do.
He really said a whole lot in those few seconds right there. And today we're going to unpack some of that and discuss what we can do. Now, as we're in hunting season right now and in an election year, it's on a lot of people's minds. Guys are talking about it at their hunting camps, on social media. On Monday, Elliott from Freelance Duck Hunting dropped a video adding to the conversation about taking responsibility and doing our part, because it can all be taken away.
There's not a big push for banning waterfowl hunting. There's not. But we know the climate can change very quickly. Look what's happened during this pandemic with all of the riots and the social justice warriors. And then things can turn like that. Australia, they're doing it. Some places in Europe, and they're doing it. And if you don't think that they can come to America and all of a sudden start talking about reducing season, reducing limits, banning different places, they absolutely can do that. And they're absolutely willing to do that.
I'm going to give you the bottom line right here and some action points of things that we can all do. And then we're going to dive into it a little bit more with my guests. Being responsible as a hunter, being ethical and following the rules, Give to conservation. Introduce others to hunting. Show them that it's more than just the kill. And if you're seasoned, be a mentor to them. And finally, vote. We all have to be political. Well, I have more from Ramsey in a little while, but right now with me I have Elliott and Titus. Guys, thanks for being with us today.
Appreciate the opportunity to come on here and to talk with you. I love your channel and what you've got going on. And anytime I can get together with Joel Strickland and hang out and do anything, the answer is yes.
I feel the same way. Thanks. I appreciate it, Joel.
So, Elliott, the video that you put out yesterday, when I watched that video, I was like, man, that is right on time. I'd been planning to do a video talking about some of these issues, and I felt like I needed to reach out to both of y'all because really we're all on the same page with this stuff. So, Elliott, tell me what was going through your mind when you were planning out the video that you put out on Monday.
Well, being ethical in waterfowl hunting is always something that I was taught from my father from the first time that I started hunting. And I started seeing these videos online about duck hunting in Australia and how some of the rights have been taken away. And actually in other countries, our sport's being banned. And then I saw another article or a research that was done by Tom Rosser talking about the percentage of wounded birds that we see across hunting. And actually, then I saw a third one that was put out by the Humane Society that was talking about both of these things, and they said that their stated goal was to ban waterfowl hunting in the United States of America. So I thought, man, what a great video opportunity this is to talk about ways we as duck hunters can just clean up our act a little bit. We just have to do a little bit of a better job in all aspects, and shot selection and picking up trash and in mentoring youth. And so it all just kind of came together in this one video about, what, things can change quickly in this society, as we've seen in the last 6 months. I mean, things are going on now that we never would have thought of were going on a year ago. And if you don't think that they can come for some of the things that we do, then you're kidding yourself. And so the whole video was just kind of, wrapped around the idea of how quickly could it evolve to which we start hearing about banning hunting and waterfowl hunting in America.
Yeah, and what really seems to get the most attention in the last several years is the antis really hitting hard with the big game hunting. You see the African game, and they villainize people that go overseas and hunt for different African game and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's really all types of hunting species. And to your to your points on the video, what I took away from it is, we don't need to give the antis any ammunition to shoot us with. We clean up our act as best we can and don't give them anything. They can make up whatever statistics or whatever they do, but let's do our part in being as squeaky clean as possible. Titus, I appreciate the comments I saw you make on Elliott's video too.
Yeah, I'm 100%, backing Elliott up and stuff. We're actually mentoring a few new hunters this year, and it's something it seemed like we've been doing for the last several years. And it's super important to us to be ethical and to teach them a right way and to show them, what's in range, what's not in range and stuff like that. And I just kind of had mentioned about the choke I use, but the selection that I use and stuff is personal preference because I've been hunting for a long time, and that's what I know that I'm comfortable with using. And my goal is to teach them the right way. Not that I'm perfect and not that I'm better than the next guy, but I've made plenty of my own mistakes, and let me tell you, and I want to teach others, this next generation, not to make those and to be better. Yeah,
mentorship. That's one of the biggest keys, and a lot of guys don't have a mentor. To me it's crazy because I grew up at a time where you had guys that were older than you, or your dad or your uncle or somebody like that would take you hunting and teach you things. And it seems like more and more it's like a lot of guys are just like, oh, I think I want to go hunting, and they don't know anybody that does it, and then they're just trying to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, and they're using social media to get a lot of that mentoring. That's why it's so important for those of us that are putting out content to have these kind of conversations and to lead by example with our actions, but also we need to be talking about it as well. Like you said, there's ways that we can conduct ourselves that is going to be better for the sport and is going to kind of stop the anti-hunters in their tracks. We can't give them ammunition against us, and we're currently doing that quite a bit.
You know, I mean, when we talk about anti-hunters, I don't know about y'all, but I've always thought of the anti-hunters and the animal rights activists as being, you know, this very small, tiny, insignificant group of misguided people that really didn't have much of a voice and really didn't have any way to affect me and my rights. Is that just me?
No, I totally agree. In fact, the way it happened in Australia is that they had a drought. And when they had the drought, the duck population dropped. And so the anti-hunters used that moment to seize it. And they're like, okay, well, now no hunting for this year because of the drought, right? Well, the drought ends and they're like, well, you know, now they've already got a foothold. So they'll take any kind of inroad they can and you won't see it coming.
Well, I've been told by someone just a few days ago that says they own guns. They were saying, oh, they'll never do that, because they were talking about some different types of guns that are banned here in California. And I just looked at them in complete shock, thinking, how do you think that could never happen? Because they've already done it in the state, and now it's multiple other states that it's happened. And like you said, Elliott and Joel, it's what's happened in the last 6 months has been a perfect foothold for them to throw little things in to sneak stuff by.
Exactly. They've been trying with guns forever. I mean, we all know that, you know, and I've always and I've thought the same thing. Oh, they're never going to take away our hunting. I mean, they may try to take away our guns, and we may not have all the guns we used to have, but we'll still have shotguns and things like that, you know, and we'll get to go hunting. I don't know. I mean, I think that it can happen if we let it happen.
Absolutely. That's why it's our job to make sure and speak up and have our voice and not be compliant.
You know, we can educate, we can mentor, and we can, you know, do the right thing as hunters and be ethical and that sort of thing. But there's also voting. You know, that's the big opportunity that we all have in making sure the right people are in place that are our representative government.
What's mind blowing to me is that half of the hunter population hasn't voted in the last couple of elections. And when I heard that stat, I was shocked. I was literally thrown back in my seat, because I would think those are the people that would be the ones voting. And to know that those aren't the ones voting, how can we sit back in our seats and complain about issues with these things we're talking about if we're not putting our vote in?
Yeah, and you know, if they're not voting, and I assume when it's voting, it's probably a presidential election. It would be my assumption. But I mean, how less likely are they to even vote within their own state, where the laws directly affect their passion of the outdoors? And that is staggering, because I always think of hunters as kind of politically minded individuals.
Right.
All right, here's another clip I'm going to share with y'all from the interview that I did with Ramsey.
How can you hunt and how can you be a firearm owner and not be political? You're either in or you're out. You're either willing to go in and protect your way of life or let somebody else rule it for you. I'm willing to vote.
You know, I will be honest, I was one of those people that had tuned out of politics. Now, I have always voted for president, but only the reason that I voted is because I didn't want people bothering me and getting mad at me because I didn't vote. I was one of those people that just completely tuned out of politics because I just felt like it was frustrating, and it just made me feel, honestly, the way I described it is it made me feel like my Chiefs football team had lost in the playoffs every single week that I got into politics. Just frustration. But the things that have been going on since the pandemic started, we don't have that luxury anymore to not be into it. And I told my son, who I mentor through his beliefs, he's like, you're a lot more political than you used to be. I was like, we have to now. It's directly affecting us in every single way. And who knows what's going to happen after November. It is crucially important right now that we get activated, and that we stand up, and our voice is heard, and that you vote more than ever in my life, for sure.
I have been fairly politically minded, I guess, for a long time. I mean, I've made it a point to know the issues, to know the candidates, and working in film and television production, I work on a lot of political campaigns, over the years, and helping, people get elected, making commercials for them, and work with some political firms and that kind of stuff. And so I guess that's part of why I know about, a lot about this, and I'm interested in it. But I'm just amazed at how many people just don't know anything. I mean, they know who the president stuff is, and that's about it. Do y'all see that as well? I mean, do y'all encounter a lot of people that way?
I certainly do. I think the main reason is number one, people have busy lives, and life is rough, and to throw that extra bit of aggravation and stress in there is more than some people can deal with. They're too busy worrying about making money, keeping part of their family. But another thing is just, and this was more with me, it's like I got to the point where it's like I didn't know what was true. I mean, you had the Republicans running around with their talking points that they heard on cable news, and you had the Democrats running around with their talking points that they had from their cable news outlets. And anytime you hear a political conversation, it's like all the people on the right said these things, all the people on the left said these things, and it became kind of just muddled. But I think that in the last year, what's been exposed to me is the outright media bias and the way that they twist and lie, and that has opened up my eyes as to some key truths, just as about, okay, I may not be able to figure out all the final details on economics and healthcare and what's best and whatnot, but what good and evil is starting to become pretty clear in my mind from what I can see, and it's becoming very, very obvious. So, but that's kind of what brought me to it.
To me, it's so blatantly obvious. I mean, you look and we're a two-party, country. I mean, in reality, I mean, we say there's independent, party, and there's green parties, and there's libertarians, and blah, but the reality is we've got two parties. I mean, it's all Republicans and Democrats, and that's our reality for a country right now. But when you look at those two parties, Democrats and Republicans, it's just so blatantly different. I mean, one is way over here and one's way over there, and it's not always been that way. I'm not going to say that everybody that hunts thinks exactly like I do in every single way, but the vast majority, they all, we all kind of line up on our beliefs for personal freedoms and personal responsibilities. We want to work. We want to take care of ourselves. We don't want the government taking care of us. We want limited government, but we want law and order. We want protections. And then there's the religious liberties, and we believe in absolute truth.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big one these days.
I think that the faith and absolute truth thing is such a big deal, and it's what acts as our moral compass. And that's I think that's really the underlying part of all of it.
It seems really, really clear to me right now, you're either pro-America or anti-America. I mean, you've got one side that loves America, that flies flags, that thinks that this country was founded on some revolutionary principles about freedom of the individual, and that, yep, we've screwed some things up and we haven't been perfect, but throughout the years, we've been trying to get closer and closer and closer to the right way, to being everyone equal and everyone free. And then you've got the other side that's trying to write the narrative that America is a disgusting, horrible train wreck of an idea and needs to be rebuilt from the inside. It's really as simple as that from what I see. Now you've got moderates in the middle that want to claim that they don't believe that, but look who they're catering to. They're catering to that mouthpiece that believes that America is fundamentally awful and needs to be broken down and rebuilt with a new set of laws, everything. And you've got one side that loves America, believes in individual sovereignty. It's as simple as that. Do you love America? Do you think that America is a fantastic country, land of the free? I mean, we have given more money to other countries to help financially than any country in the world. I mean, we've done so much good. We've done some bad too. So do you love America, or do you think America's worthless? If you love America, you know who to vote for.
I have heard people say that, that they're not going to vote because they don't like who the choices are. So they're just not going to vote. Or they say that they're going to vote for a third party candidate, and because they're frustrated with the two-party system. I'm frustrated with the two-party system. I think a lot of people are. But how do you respond to that? I mean, how do you even have a conversation with somebody to help them understand that that's just not a good thing to do?
To not vote is to vote. In my opinion, you if you don't say something, it's just like if you see someone getting beat up in the street, right? And you're standing there and you could do something, but you say, I don't want to get involved. I just turn my head the other way. I don't know the circumstances or why this is going on when someone innocent's getting hurt. You made a decision by not making a decision. And so by not voting, you are making a decision. I mean, you could look at biblical terms and how these situations have happened, and it's always is a choice. What I'm saying is, when we don't do something about it, if we see things happening and we don't involve ourselves, you are making a vote. Because, like you said, I've already heard people say it too in the last week. I'm not gonna vote. I don't like my choices, just like you said. And it's like, guys, well then don't complain afterwards that you don't like the outcome of what's going to happen if you don't stand up for what's right. Because, I mean, I'm the same way as you, Elliott. I've thought the same thing. You could call it burying your head in the sand and not knowing what's going on, not caring. I do care. But like you said, what can you trust anymore? How do I know my ballot is getting counted? How do I know that they're taking my vote, whether I do it in person or whether I mail it in? But the point is, you got to do what's right. You got to stand for what's right. Maybe no one else sees it. No one else knows it. They don't know who I am from Joe Blow. But the whole point is that the morals behind it and the ethics behind doing it is we have to do it.
I have voted Libertarian most of my adult life. I voted Libertarian last election. Not this time. You just can't. It's too important, and the things that are going on are too dangerous. And so we just don't have that kind of luxury anymore to vote a third party or to not vote.
The American people are realizing, hold on a second, it does matter. It does matter who's running things, because we could lose all that, like you said, land of the free. We could lose that real quick. Like you said, we've got a little spoiled. I include myself in that. We used to how good things are. I mean, sure, we have our complaints and this and that, but it brings you to reality real quick. When you start getting your liberties taken away, that's when you start realizing it does matter who's running what in our country.
This election is by far the most important one of our lifetimes, and we've got to get out, as many of us as possible, and vote.
And we all have the obligation to get out and vote for the most electable candidates who are on the right side. The stakes couldn't be any higher. Our future depends on it. The nation's future depends on it. And if you can get out and vote early, I urge you to do that. I'll be doing that myself today. Now I'm going to leave y'all some resources in the description section of this video. I appreciate Elliott, Titus, and Ramsey for being a part of this video. Please support their content, watch their videos and podcasts. It's excellent stuff for guys like you and me. God bless. I'm Joel Strickland, and I'll see you on the next video.